In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create a counter using the useState hook. This counter should be able to increment the count value, decrement the count value, and reset the value back to 0. I'm going to start off by creating a new file in the components folder called counterhook.js. Within the new file, I'm going to use the React snippet RAFCE to create a functional component. Before we even continue, I'm going to render this file in the app component. Counterhook. Alright, back like we never left. Next, we grab the useState hook from the React library. useState is nothing more than a function. It's a function we can choose to call to allow us to use state inside of this component. So let's get started. Step 1 is to call the useState function. We're going to pass it out a single argument, our initial state value. In this case, we're just trying to track a number, and we'll start it off at 0. To make it more readable, we're going to create a constant called initial count and set it equal to 0, and use it as an argument instead. Now, what comes back from useState? What comes back is an array of two items. The first is a current state value that's going to change over time, and the second is a function that we can call in order to update the state. So right here, we're going to destructure both the state value and the function to change it. So right here, let's get that done. I will call the state variable count, and I'll call the function to change the state variable set count. Perfect. Now we can add a JSX within the divs. The current count is curly braces count. So this is how we define our state, get access to its current value, and render it. Now let's go ahead and add buttons to the component to change the state value over time. So let's create 3 buttons down below. So I'll set up a button with the text of increment, a button with the text of decrement, and a button with the text of reset. So for the increment button, on click is going to be an arrow function that calls setCount, passing in count plus 1 as the argument. This will add 1 to the count value. Similarly, for the decrement button, on click is going to be an arrow function that calls setCount, passing in count minus 1 as the argument. This will subtract 1 from the count value. Last but not least, the reset button. On click is going to be an arrow function that calls setCount, passing in the variable initial count as the argument. This will set the count value back to 0. So let's save the file and test it out. As you can see, increment works. Anytime you click the button, it adds 1. Let's check out decrement. It should subtract 1. I must have made a mistake, hold on. Let's replace plus with minus, and it should work again. Alright, everything seems to be working fine. Perfect. Despite this working, passing count directly to set count in the increment and decrement button is not best practice. Instead, it's better to pass in an updater function that has access to the previous state value. So set count is going to accept a function that has access to the previous state value. So previous count is going to be the argument, and the function body is going to be previous count plus 1. Now I'll just do the same for the decrement button, but instead of plus, I'll use minus. Alright, let's check it out now. Everything should still work as expected. Cool. Thank you for watching the video, guys.